Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I just want to review my strategy on how I made over almost $8,500 trading NVDA within the last 2-week trading days. Now this is a very simple strategy and I just want to break it down for you just so you can get a better idea. We're going to use a combination of Fidelity Active Trader Pro up here, and then we're also going to use Webull because Webull is very good for charting and mapping out levels. So let's get into it. So anytime I trade a stock, I'm always looking for like the 1 month to the 5-day and then the 1-day chart. Now this looks a little messy, so we'll try to clear it up a little bit for you. We'll get rid of some of these lines, but I just want to give you the gist of it so you kind of understand why I'm trading the way I'm trading. I'm a scalp trader. I don't want this video to be super long. I just want it to be straight to the point. So anytime that I'm trading NVIDIA or any other stock, I look for the 1 month chart and I start to line up where is support and resistance, and not just your basic like classic video that goes up here, it points up here at 141 and says, oh, there's your resistance, you know, and your support is down here at 115. I don't like to trade like that. I try to trade more realistic. So I look at the 1 month and I try to mark off with horizontal lines saying, okay, where is it struggling? There's clearly a zone right here where there's resistance. There's clearly a zone right here where there's resistance. So let me mark a line. So that's what I start with first. It doesn't have to be perfect. You got to give it like a point or two swing because stocks like to move, especially if they're volatile like NVIDIA. But you can see clearly that right in this area, there was some consolidation. You can see thin wicks here. You see these very thin wicks? This means no buyers were up here. They tried to push it up and the sellers just push it back down. Buyers tried to push it up from 129 all the way up to 130. They pushed it back down. Buyers tried to push from 129 up to 129.8. They pushed it back down. Now, that is an area of consolidation. There's resistance right there. So we're going to lower this down here. And you can see it's not only in this zone, but it's also in this zone. So now as I'm trading this and I move to the 5-day, I can start to get a zoomed in view on what's happening. Because look from the 1 month, you can see I made this red line from here to here. And then I got to look, well, where is it holding? And you're going to see I have a lot of markers here showing this. So right here, in this yellow line, you can see right here is the first consolidation where I say consolidation because look at these demands. The sellers, now it's the opposite. The sellers tried pushing down from, look at this red arrow, this thin line, from 124 right back up to 125.7. Then they tried again here at 125.16, back up to 125.72. And if I'm going too fast, just pause the screen. You can see the screen. You can see the numbers on the side. So going back to the 5-day, you can just see that there's a clear channel trading within this zone of 122 to 128. And now we are starting to get that first pullback where we rejected the 128. And we need to see, are we going to hold this 125 range? So when I trade, I'm not trying to scalp for points. I'm trying to scalp for 20 to 50 cents, and my stop is usually 20 cents. So a good example is when I'm buying, I'll buy at the whole dollar. Whole dollar means like 124, 123, 122. Or I buy at the half dollar, which is 125.50, like so 50 cents in between, 124.50. So I try to buy whole dollars, half dollars, because after trading for many years, I've realized, like, look at this is a perfect example. Like stocks just love to bounce off of the whole dollar. It's like a psychological thing. When you look at it, you'll start to notice that this is the after hours of NVIDIA. You're starting to get some consolidation here just in this point at 125.50. That's where how low the line goes. And then it tries to hold the line. So when I trade stocks, I'm always trying to look at, go out on the 3 month. If it's too much squiggly lines going on, click on the 1 month, look for the consolidation, look for the resistance up here, resistance up here. The lowest I see is 115, but then after this 115, it pretty much held and consolidated in this area at 120, consolidated at 120, consolidated at 120. So you can see that this part right here, there's clearly a demand zone. So what I do is I try to be patient and I wait and see when is this going to come back to this zone. And then when it does, that's when I'm going to scalp it. So it's at 125 right now. And if I'm very patient, and if it does, and if it doesn't reach my target, that's fine. I just wait. I just wait. I just set alerts. But I'm looking for a 2 to 3% pullback. We get back to 122. And then I have a feeling that there's going to be buyers coming in here. Why? Because I'm looking at these, I'm going to zoom in so you can see these thin wicks. You see these thin wicks? This shows that the sellers tried to push this down. Look at this one. It goes from 121 all the way down to 118. They tried to push it back down, but then it popped right back up above this region of 121. So 121 is clearly a zone where you are having demand. So I'll mark the demand level, which is with this orange bar. And then when the first time it comes to this level, I will buy it. And the way, I know it sounds like common sense, but the reason I like doing this is because let's say it pulls back 3% in this 121. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 121 exactly. But if it goes to like 121.5, 121.7, I'll start buying shares within this region. And do you know what my stop is? It's the low of this demand zone. So I look at the lowest wick, which in this case, it looks like it's about 120.5, and I'll make that my stop. Now, it depends how many shares I'm doing. If I'm doing a very large share size position, I don't give like 50 cents to $1. If I'm doing 1,000 shares, I'm not going to give $1 as like a stop loss. If it's 1,000 shares, I'm going to do like 20 cents. So I'll risk $200. So if I buy at like 21.5, let's say, I'm gonna take my loss at 121.3, so that's $200. That means I was off with my zone. But I'm gonna try to sell up at least 30, 40 cents to try to make $400. So it's a 2-to-1 R, as they say, which means you're trying to make two times the amount that you're risking. I see traders talk about like 6-to-1 R. I'm not that good of a trader. I'm not a professional trader. This is just how I've learned what I'm comfortable with, and that's what you need to learn, what you're comfortable with when you're day trading. But let's use a different example because this is a clear area where I'm going to be buying NVIDIA, right? Real time, just using it, 121, this range. I'm looking for this zone. I want to see more of a pullback. We're going to jump right in. Now, let's use a different stock to like kind of measure it so you can kind of get an idea. Let's take a look at, let's see if we can find, let's use like an actual other stock. So here's Home Depot. Here's a good example. So we have Home Depot here. And when I look at the 3-month chart, this looks like a bunch of blah, right? It's like, okay, well, where are we going to look for this next support level? So what I try to do is I try to mark off where do we have touch points. So I start here. I could see right here there was a point that was touched. And then I can see right here is very even. This is why I like Webull. It's very easy. And you will see why I'm picking this level in a second. I'm going to show you, I'm going to draw it out first. And the levels are not always exact. You're going to be wrong in your analysis, but you just have to give it wiggle room and just adjust as it goes. And that's what you start to realize in trading. It's not everything's all perfect. It's not all like, these are the levels it should have held. If it doesn't hold, then that means your levels are wrong, and then you just readjust. No big deal. As long as you follow a stop loss, it's not a big deal. So here we go. So this is what I'm looking at. I see that we broke this level. We tried to retest it. So in this range of 337 to about 335, there's a little consolidation, which you can see right here, this consolidation, and then we sold off, big red volume candle coming in. Then it goes down to 324, which is the bottom of this wick, shoots back up to about 335. Look at these wicks. These wicks are very thin. The buyers go into it, but they get sold off. Now, look what happens when it breaks this level. So it breaks the 335 level, blasts all the way up to 340. Now I want to see the next time it gets to confirm this level, if I'm correct, will it hold 335? So we're going to keep going, trailing. And this is how I test if this previous level is valid at all. So right there, I'm seeing that it went up to 345, started selling off, and now I have some wicks in this range. And look at those wicks. Those wicks are bouncing off this level, 335. So buyers are looking at this and saying, okay, look at the previous. It bounced off this level at 335, and it had resistance in this level at 335 as well. So now we zoomed in on the level that we created, bounced off there, and then now it's starting to hold 335. It's holding above, and now it's going to retest it again at this 335, and boom, look at the big red volume candle, and this is how I try to confirm it. If 335 wasn't a strong support level, then why do you have this massive red volume candle? These are most likely stop losses where people are cutting their loss because they think it's going to go lower. It dropped 6 points all in one day from 335 to 330, showing that this could be potentially a level that Home Depot likes. Meaning you had support here, support there, you had that previous resistance here, and it's the break, so it breaks it, and then it retests it, bounces back up, retests it, bounces back up, retest here, now it fails. So now I know if it gets back to 335, this is an area that I would potentially short because now it's sold below. Let's see what happens if it can get back up to it. So look at that. Now it's sold from 335 all the way down to 321, back up to 335. Look at that. Now look at this demand zone. Now it's not perfect. It went up to 336.7 to about 335. So you're buying in those zones with your game plan. And when you create these zones, you make your stop losses a little bit above where you think the level is. And now it sells off from 336, 335, makes a newer low, doesn't even get as high as that anymore. Now this is confirming it's going to go lower. And then boom, blast back up. But notice right here, look at this part right here. So it goes to the level that we thought it would be. And once it breaks that 336 level, where does it go? Massive green candle, 336 all the way up to 350. Now we have to look at the new level. But look, brim, back to 335. So it just went from 335, it broke the level, the break, now the retest of 335. I mean, that's just how I try to trade the levels. I look at where the consolidation is, where it's bouncing, and when you zoom out, you can kind of see the whole picture. So here, there's resistance, resistance, now it turned into support in this area, support in this area, support in this area. Resistance right here after it broke our support level. It's going to retest it, fails, retest, breaks through. Now it breaks through 357, pulls all the way back 335. There's your support level. It's retesting because this was resistance broken. Now it's support, and now it's retesting this level. So that's how I kind of look at it when I trade the levels. And I'll try to make the first stab. Like if we were just trading this part and it was selling off, and I was thinking, okay, 335 was that level. I want to try to get in at the first entry at 335. And my stop is just going to be below. And that's kind of how I do my scalping strategy. Because you'll notice there's a lot of volatility when you get to these points. And anytime you see these very thin wick candles, there's a lot of buyers coming in. Because this red thin candle, a lot of buyers are pushing it back up above that level. Because they're waiting for that level and they're buying. But now you got this consolidation of below the 335. And now it starts to sell off. So I always look at the 1 month. You can do the 3 month if you want. That's a good way to get a good idea. Then the 1 month to really break it down. You can see how my levels are all matching up. And then I have the 5 day where I zoom in even closer where you get tunnel vision. And then I go to the 1 day. And then I focus on like those previous channels, those previous levels, but I want to know where exactly it was. Meaning like where was my support levels? Okay, 335. Now I'm looking to see what happens when it touches that on the 1 day chart. Does it just start selling off, or does it, it's consolidating and then breaks and retests and goes higher? So that's kind of like what I'm looking at. Now we'll break down the share size position as well. So anytime I'm trading, I try to trade with, a certain amount of shares, whether it's 100 shares, 500 shares, 1,000 shares, and I just create strict rules to it. So like if I was trading GameStop, let's say it's a $24 stock, I would do like 1,000 shares at a time. That's a $25,000 position. If I'm trading like a $200 stock, which I rarely do, I would do like, depending on your risk tolerance, 250. That only means I can get 100 shares for 25,000. If I was doing $50,000 position, then I could do 200 shares, and that's how I try to base it off of. And then I just scalp those regions as they come in, but I create that strict stop loss, knowing that what's my max loss as I'm going through. All right, guys. So if you're interested in definitely learning more about the strategy, click on my playlist, Trading Strategies over here. I have RSI and dip buying, buy the dip strategy, Fidelity Active Trader Pro setup, which is what I use to day trade, rules that I follow, order types explained, and basically the list goes on and on. And this one doesn't have that many views, I'm surprised, but definitely very valuable in how I draw support and resistance lines, and it gives multiple examples. So definitely check this video out. VWAP strategy on that, and then just basically other strategies that you can get, like how to get ahead in 2024, etc. So definitely check these out. I